Hey guys, Amy and Bryan here from Colorado Mountain Living, and today we're going to go over insulated concrete forms, specifically Quad Lock, and our experience using it in the building of our timber frame home. Well, mostly Bryan did all of the work, so I'm going to be interviewing him to get his insight, so you guys can get your questions answered, and feel free to ask us any more questions if we haven't covered them in the comments below. So first of all, I guess, what is insulated concrete form, and why would anyone want to use them as opposed to the traditional forms you could use?
So they're made out of 2¼ inches of polystyrene foam, and so you get the thickness that we chose. We got an R22 value for insulating, whereas a standard plywood metal forms, there's no insulative value except for that of the concrete. So if you picture your igloo cooler and how well the ice stays in there throughout the day, it's the same situation with our forms that we put up. So we've got the cement is completely wrapped with styrofoam.
Okay. So. And what about Quad Lock? Why did you specifically choose Quad Lock forms?
So I watched a lot of their videos, and it seemed very straightforward and easy to put together. Plus, their forms don't come pre-assembled, so you can get 10 pieces of styrofoam into a very small package, so it's a lot less volume being shipped to your job site. Whereas a lot of the forms that I've looked at were all pre-assembled, and you've got a lot of air that you're shipping. So it would have been probably 4 times the volume shipped to our house.
So more expensive to ship. So that's definitely was a consideration.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then we have an example right here, one of the forms. So
I've got some scrap left over, and here's a little piece of it. You can see all the little interlocking joints there. So if you take that.
Those are the Lego tips.
Yeah, the Lego tips, yeah. So it makes it real easy. So when you put them together, you first put the track. You set up your track on your footings. So you lay out your wall, and it's all in the instruction manual how to do it. But you nail that down, and then the bottom of the styrofoam just goes right into the track. And then as you're putting them together, you just slide these little ties in like that, and then another one on this side, like that. And then when you're going through when you're going through and putting your rebar just lays right on top of the ties, and then you just wire tie it on there. And then when you start doing your next row, it just interlocks just like that. So you get a nice tight joint, and anybody can lift styrofoam. So.
Probably bonus if you have some Lego experience.
Yeah.
But it's easy enough for one person to do. I mean, you're a one-man show, pretty much.
Yeah, the hardest part was cutting the rebar, bending the rebar, and then hauling it around the job site to specific locations. But
so light enough, and maybe we can take a look at some footage here of the Quad Lock forms all laid out as you were progressing on your job here. Yeah,
you'll see that where I laid the track out on top, and that's probably the most crucial point. That and the footings being level. Getting that all exactly laid out the way it's supposed to be, and then just starting to put your styrofoam down. We have a walkout basement, so I started on the lower footing, which would be 3 feet lower than the actual floor level in the basement, and then I worked my way up, and then I got to the main area and just worked my way across. And I could do as much or little as I wanted. I could do a row after work. During the summer, maybe even 2 rows, and then on the weekends I could get maybe 3 or 4 rows completed.
So another argument why you didn't want to use traditional forms, because you would have had to rent those, paid for that.
Yeah, for a long period of time, because I was doing this on my time frame and not on somebody else's. So
if someone's looking to do the job themselves, it's definitely makes sense for them to take the route of a form where they can assemble it on their own time and
absolutely
be able to do the job without having to hire people or ask people for help if they didn't feel like doing that.
Yeah. Now, every job goes faster if you have somebody helping you, but when it's just plastic and styrofoam, it goes pretty well.
Does it come with an instruction manual and how-tos? And
when I was just researching all the different ICF forms, I was watching a lot of videos online, on YouTube, and so on. And Quad Lock had a good set of videos as far as how to do it. And then their manual is about that thick, and it goes through all the detail if you're doing a radius, like a turret type or some kind of a circle, which interestingly, we have a neighbor just down the street here. And about 2 weeks after we got our Quad Lock, he had his Quad Lock delivered, and he has a nice big round turret, so to speak, that goes up about 10 or 12 feet. So a little more detail than what we've got.
What special tools or equipment did you need to do the job?
So for the actual forms, I needed a bunch of utility knives. The ones that retract out about 4 or 5 inches that kind of have the tips that you can break off. So once I measured my foam to length, then I could just use a straight edge and then slice it with the razor knife. And so it's surprisingly how dull the knives get cutting only styrofoam. But so I went through about 3 or 4 or 5 of those knives throughout the process. I needed a drill, a concrete drill to secure the track to the footing, laser level. Okay. Once you're getting about 4 rows up, you make sure everything's plumb and straight. Rebar was, that was something different. I had to bend all the 90 degrees for all the corners. So put rebar every row, and then so all the corners get their pieces, and so that was a little time consuming. But
any other time intensive?
Putting up the scaffolding and all the form supports. So you need to support the forms, and you'll see that in the videos there. I used 2x6s because I knew I was going to frame the house in 2x6s, and so I could reuse those later on. And so that worked out well. I screwed all of the scaffolding together, and so it made it real easy to take it apart afterwards.
Any other need-to-knows that people should be aware of before they kind of get started on a job like this?
Probably the most difficult was the just actually pouring the concrete as far as running the vibrator. The vibrator is extremely heavy. We had the front section of our walls was 12 feet deep, so we had a 12-foot deep vibrator, and that thing is really heavy. So if it wasn't for my neighbor actually jumping up on top of the forms, which that's how strong they are, you could actually stand on them, and then hoisting it up this way, whereas when I started, I was trying to push it up. I was exhausted just doing one section of wall, so that was probably the most stressful part. And then getting the slump right. The second truck that came when we were pouring the cement, the slump was not quite right, so it was actually just sticking to the plastic ties and instead of flowing down in. So that took some adjustment, but we got that all squared away. So. Yeah.
It's just stressful in the moment when the mud's coming out at you and you're like trying to handle cement coming at you everywhere.
Yeah, it's splattering instead of flowing.
So. But overall, pretty pleased with the experience, and it seems to be a good quality product. We'll probably use it for the rest of our home in stage 2 when we build the rest of the house.
Yeah, we've got a whole 30 by 40 foot section that we will be adding on, and definitely be using the insulated forms that we did this time.
It was good, a good experience. No blowouts, no major mishaps. It was a pretty much smooth foundation pour, and we're really happy with the experience. And if you guys are watching and you're feeling like you've got some more questions that we didn't answer, just shoot us a question or 2 in the comments, and we'll be able to see if we can answer that for you. But thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for more videos of watching our progress, building our dream home up in the mountains.
Yeah, take care.